at full heat out of the ground to keep the permafrost frozen and the tracks level. It is high-stakes, cutting-edge engineering. Critics will point to the seasonal limitations. They will say the port is only open for a few months a year. And for much of the 20th century, they were right. But the climate is changing. Since 1980, ice cover in Hudson Bay has dropped by nearly 50%. The shipping season now stretches from July through November. Analysts predict that by 2040, the bay could be open year-round. While we may mourn the environmental implications of a warming Arctic, as pragmatists, we must utilize the opportunities it presents. By investing in Manitoba's northern corridor, Canada creates a release valve. We diversify our risk. If the U.S. border closes, or if the Panama Canal dries up, or if the ports of California go on strike, we have our own back door to the world. That is the definition of economic sovereignty. This brings us to a critical question, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you believe the economic and strategic benefits of opening the Arctic trade routes are worth the massive infrastructure costs required to maintain them? Drop a comment below and let me know your perspective. With these logistics understood, we must now turn our eyes to the broader geopolitical chessboard and the intensifying battle for the North. The Arctic is no longer a frozen periphery. It is moving to the very center of global power dynamics. As the ice melts, new shipping lanes are opening up, most notably the Northwest Passage. Here lies a conflict that few Canadians speak of openly, but which threatens our territorial integrity. Canada has long claimed the Northwest Passage as internal waters. This means we have the right to regulate traffic, enforce environmental laws, block dangerous vessels, and assert complete control. However, our closest allies, the United States and the European Union, dispute this. They argue that the passage is an international strait, where freedom of navigation prevails. This is a diplomatic stalemate, but in the world of realpolitik, diplomacy only goes so far. Sovereignty is not a piece of paper signed in Ottawa. Sovereignty is presence. Sovereignty is activity. Sovereignty is use it or lose it. This is why a bustling industrial Churchill is vital. By building a world-class functioning port, Canada signals to the world that these waters are governed, utilized, and protected by Canadians. Every ship that refuels at Churchill, every ton of nickel that is loaded onto a freighter in the Hudson Bay, strengthens Canada's legal claim to the North. It transforms the red line on the map into a physical reality. We are not alone in this race. Across the pole, Russia has been aggressively developing its northern sea route. They have built a fleet of nuclear-powered icebreakers. They have militarized their northern coast. They view the Arctic as their future economic engine. The northern sea route is currently more developed than our Northwest Passage, but it is subject to Russian jurisdiction and the instability of the Putin regime. International shipping companies are nervous. They are looking for an alternative. Manitoba offers that alternative. The Northwest Passage, anchored by the Port of Churchill, can become the western corridor of the Arctic, a route that is transparent, safe, democratic, and governed by the rule of law. It positions Canada not just as a participant in Arctic trade, but as a gatekeeper. Furthermore, this geopolitical relevance ties directly into the green economy. The world is racing to decarbonize. This transition requires massive amounts of critical minerals: lithium, nickel, cobalt, copper. Manitoba and its neighbors sit on some of the largest untapped deposits of these materials in the world. The old model of the Canadian economy, the hewer of wood and drawer of water, would see us dig these minerals up and ship them raw to the United States or China for processing. We would sell the crude resource cheap and buy back the finished batteries at a premium. We have done this for a century, and it has kept us in a state of economic dependence. Churchill changes the equation. It provides a green gateway that allows these critical minerals to reach European markets directly, and encourages the development of processing and refining capacity right here in Manitoba, because the logistics chain favors it. By positioning Churchill at the center of the critical mineral supply chain, Canada secures a dominant position in the energy economy of tomorrow. We stop being a branch plant of the American industrial machine and become a primary node in the global network. We must also consider the security dimension. In an era of hybrid threats, the Arctic is a front line for intelligence and surveillance. The modernization of NORAD involves placing sophisticated over-the-horizon radar systems and satellite communication hubs in the Churchill corridor. These are not just for watching for bombers. They provide essential data for maritime safety, search and rescue, and environmental monitoring. A permanent, well-equipped presence in Manitoba's north allows Canada to respond to emergencies in the Arctic in hours, not days. It transforms Churchill from a town into a sentinel. To truly appreciate why Manitoba is capable of carrying this burden, we must look at the fabric of its history and the emergence of a new model of governance. To truly appreciate why Manitoba is capable of carrying this burden, we must look at the character of the province itself. History leaves a mark on a people, and Manitobans have a history of resilience and defiance that is unique in Confederation. Manitoba was not created by a simple stroke of a pen in London or Ottawa. It was born out of resistance. In 1870, the transfer of Rupert A.O.S. land, the vast territory held by the Hudson R. S. Bay Company, to the new Dominion of Canada, sparked the Red River Resistance. The Métis people, led by Louis Riel, recognized that their rights and way of life were imperiled. They seized control of Fort Garry. They formed a provisional government. They negotiated. The Manitoba Act of 1870 was a direct result of this assertion of rights. It marked a unique instance where a Canadian province was born not solely from federal decree, but from a direct negotiation with an Indigenous community. This DNA of resistance, of standing up for local rights against distant powers, runs deep in the province. We see this resilience in the story of If Day. In 1942, during the darkest days of World War II, Winnipeg staged a simulated Nazi invasion to raise funds for the Victory Loan campaign. It was an elaborate, terrifying piece of theater, take battles, parade sirens, the internment of officials. It showed a community willing to go to extreme lengths to support the national cause. We see it in the response to the Red River flood of 1950, a devastation that forced the evacuation of the city and led to the construction of the Red River floodway, a massive engineering project that critics call Duff's Ditch, but which has saved the city billions of dollars in damages over the decades. Manitobans do not wait for rescue. They build solutions. This spirit is manifesting today in a groundbreaking model of governance for the Arctic Gateway. In 2016, the port of Churchill was on the verge of collapse. The previous American owners had shuttered operations. The track was damaged by flooding. The town was cut off. Food prices skyrocketed. It seemed like the end. But then,